7 million square kilometers of the Earth's surface was above water during the Ice Age and is underwater today. So yes, there has been quite a bit of marine archaeology. I think Nick Fleming says there's about 3,000 sites have been investigated underwater over the years. But it's, again, you're looking at a tiny fraction of 1% of the submerged areas that have been investigated. I was very excited when I saw this, but it turned out that it was just another search for shipwrecks. And fortunately, some new work is now being done. Archaeologists are beginning to look at the submerged area, Doggerland, for example, between what is now Britain and continental Europe, a submerged landmass. They're beginning to investigate this. It wouldn't surprise me at all if lots of evidence of hunter-gatherers is found in these submerged areas. I would expect that to be the case. But to say that enough work has been done to rule out the possibility of a lost civilization seems to me absurd when we're dealing with 27 million square kilometers. And I just want to say that I and my wife Santha have done a great deal of diving. We did 7 years of scuba diving all over the world. And what we did was we followed up local accounts of underwater structures, fishermen, local divers, and we went where they took us. This is Nan Madol, Ponape, on the island of Ponape. You go a bit further underwater and you start finding structures underwater. Go a bit further still and you find this huge column underwater. This is at a depth of 27 meters. That column has been submerged for more than 13,000 years. And it compares very interestingly with this column. If you see on the left, the submerged column at Nan Madol, on the right, this column from Tinian, the island of Tinian, also in that region of the Pacific. I wonder if the megaliths of Tinian have been misdated. What we're looking at here, and I apologize to listeners who are listening and not watching, but what we're looking at here are my fins disappearing into a tunnel. And that tunnel looks to me, this is in Japan, by the way, off the island of Yonaguni. That tunnel looks to me very man-made, particularly when I get inside it and find on each side, two big megaliths piled one on top of the other. And then when you come to the end of the tunnel, you see ahead of you these two massive megalithic blocks directly in view from the tunnel. That's a shot that Santha took of me diving beside those megalithic blocks, just to give you a sense of the scale of them. They're enormous. No, they did not fall from a cliff above. There is no cliff above. And they're in context. We're looking at a huge rocky outcrop with these two megalithic blocks on the side. But let's go round to the right of that rocky outcrop, and we find a rock-hewn area with steps. And those steps, archaeologists tend to argue this is all completely natural. I have done more than 200 dives at Yonaguni. Santha and I risked our lives. We are not dilettantes. We are in this out of conviction. We're in this out of passion for our subject. We've done more than 200 dives at Yonaguni. I've been hands-on with this structure and all the other structures around it, and I am absolutely confident that we're looking at a rock-hewn structure, a natural rock face that was cut and shaped by human beings. Here at Kerema, we're looking at a stone circle underwater, depth 30 plus meters, 32 meters, I think, been submerged again for more than 13,000 years. There I'm videoing for scale. You can see somebody down beside that central megalith. Flint, do you think nature made that?
I see no evidence of it being man-made, if that's what you're saying.
You see no evidence of that being man-made. You see a central upright. You see uprights surrounding it. You see the outer curve, the inner curve of the outer megalith matching the outer curve of the central megalith, and to you, that's not even interesting?
I mean, even the photos you were showing at Yonaguni showed a lot of natural fractures along straight lines, and so I think that it's really easy to confuse what can happen naturally and geologically with something that looks kind of anthropogenic, but this does not look man-made to me. It does not look like anything I've ever seen.
Well, that's interesting, because I took a geologist diving there, Wolf Wichman. He's very skeptical. He was skeptical about Yonaguni, but he did confess after we came up from the dive at Kerema that there's no way, in his opinion, that this could have been made by nature. This is a rock wall off Taiwan. Again, Santha and I went diving there. That's a local diver called Steve Shea. He's showing us this rock wall. We can get in close to it. We can see a sort of pediment in front of it. And if you get up close, you can see that it is actually made of individual blocks put together. Let's go to India, southeast coast of India. My wife Santha was born in Malaysia, but she's of Tamil South Indian origin. So we had a great advantage in South India in talking to local fishermen and divers because Santha speaks the Tamil language fluently. And we had asked them, are there any structures underwater off here? And they said, you bet there are. There's a whole city underwater off here. And we've complained to the government about it because we keep catching our nets on it and fishermen have to go down and sometimes they die trying to free the nets. We'd like the whole thing cleared away. So we said, would you take us out there and show us? And it took some time to put it together. This was an expedition with the Scientific Exploration Society in Britain that I put together. As you can see, it's a very low-tech expedition. But when we got out there, come on, Flint, tell me these are man-made. Tell me these are natural blocks.
That's a very blurry picture, Graham.
Well, just tell me tell me that they're natural blocks. Tell me.
I cannot tell for sure with these photos.
Okay, there I'm putting my diving knife between two blocks, and then a curved wall. Actually, the team from the National Institute of Oceanography in India who were with us were intrigued by this.
Do you have any more photos of that are maybe more convincing?
No, that's what I've got. But I'm trying to keep it short.
Right. Some of them do have characteristics of stone walls for sure, but it's hard to tell.
That's the top of a stone wall. The rest of it's buried in sand on the left there. On the right, a stone wall with a standout feature above it. To suggest that these things are natural seems to me completely absurd. And my point is that if Santha and I, with no external funding, the only funding we have, I've never had financial sponsorship from anybody. The only funding that we have is the kind readers who buy my books and allow us to undertake this research. And we've risked our lives for 30 years investigating this research. And if we can find structures of this nature underwater on our very limited basis, then I would imagine that a detailed archaeological survey would find much more. So the submerged continental shelves, the Sahara Desert and the Amazon alone, these are three large underserved areas by archaeology. And I think it's premature for archaeology to say that they can rule out any possibility of a lost civilization. While there's so much of the Earth that remains to be studied, and actually how much of the so-called developed industrial countries, how much of the land area of those countries have been investigated?
I mean, so look, I fully agree with you that I'd like to see more archaeology done in ethical, informed ways. I am not trying to argue against searching for sites in the Sahara, the Amazon, or underwater. I think we can hopefully agree that more archaeology needs to be done. I would say in developed countries, our coverage is even better, though.